Hello everyone and welcome to a Unibet Poker tutorial. I'm Simpson and today we're going to be talking about starting hand requirements around a 9-handed table. Now this video is aimed at players who are relatively new to the game. They know the rules but they're a little bit unsure as to what hands they should be playing from each position. So hopefully I'm going to be able to shed a little bit of light on that today. The first position I want to talk about is being on the button. Now when you're on the button you've only got two players left to beat, the small blind and the big blind. So if they both fold you immediately show a profit. Not only that, if they do contest to your raise, you're going to have position on them throughout the rest of the hand. That means they have to act first before you make your decision, and that bit of extra information is going to be worth a lot of money to you in the long term. Because of these advantages, I recommend playing about 50% of the hands of the deck. That looks a little bit something like this. Now, that might seem like a lot of hands, and it is. You're going to be playing hands as weak as Jack-7 offsuit and 3-4 suited. But your positional advantage and the fact that you've only got two players left to make fold in order to make some money means these hands are well worth playing in position. The second position I want to talk about today is being the first person to act, also known as being under the gun. Now, when you're the first person to act, you've got 8 players left to beat. This means that there's a pretty decent likelihood of there being a good hand waiting out there to contest with you. So you can't play as loosely as you do on the button. In fact, I recommend playing about 14 or 15% of hands when you're under the gun, which looks a little bit something like this. So as you'll see, you'll start throwing away hands like King-Jack offsuit, like Jack-Queen offsuit. You won't be playing the worst pocket pairs, pocket 2s, 3s and 4s. You'll also be more selective about which ace-X hands you're going to play. So the worst offsuit ace I'll be playing is ace-10 offsuit. All the other offsuit aces I'm going to throw away. I'm also going to be more selective with the suited aces I play. I'm going to play ace 3, 4 and 5 suited, but I'm not going to play ace 6, 7 and 8 suited. That might seem a little strange, but it's because ace 3, 4 and 5 are that little bit connected. They've got a small chance to make a straight, which makes them that little bit more appetizing to play. Now, obviously, these are just rough rules of thumb. As you start going around the table, you're going to start playing more and more hands as you have less and less players to beat. But there are a few things that will influence exactly how many hands you play. First thing of these is your stack depth. If you have 100 big blinds, you can afford to play some speculative hands. 4-5 suited can make a really sneaky straight and a really sneaky flush. And if you have 100 big blinds behind you, it has the potential to be paid 100 big blinds from your opponents. If you only have 20 big blinds, hands like 4-5 suited, pocket 5s, speculative hands like this, they start losing a lot of their punch because you can only win 20 big blinds if that's all you've got in front of you, so that makes them a lot less appetizing to play. So the less chips you have, the less hands you play. Another factor that will influence how many hands you play is being on the bubble in a tournament. When you're in a tournament, only so many players get paid, and you really want to be one of those players who gets paid. So if you're close to getting into the money and you have a stack that's a little bit precarious, there are a lot of stacks out there that can knock you out, you have to be more selective about the hands you play in order to preserve your tournament life. Another factor that will influence how many hands you play are the players left to act behind you. If you've got a really good player on your left, they're going to have a big advantage over you because they're going to have position a lot of the time. You can mitigate the damage they can do to you by playing a lot less of the speculative hands and tightening up your range that little bit so your range is stronger and they'll have a harder time exploiting you by having position on you. So, hopefully that was helpful everyone, and thank you very much for watching the tutorial. Good luck at the tables.